皆さんこんにちは、ヒゲさんです。今回は日本に移住した理由 Abroad in Japan の場合、ビデオをチェックします。So today we're going to be checking out a video about the person in charge of the Abroad in Japan channel, Chris Broad. He's going to be explaining his reasons of why he moved to Japan. And as for the people who don't know who this is, he is a very famous Japanese YouTuber. And I'll admit, I actually did check out a lot of his videos before I moved to Japan, so I could learn a little bit more about how life works in Japan before I moved here. By the way, if you haven't heard yet, I started a new channel, and this channel will be specific for only She in the Spot videos. So if you're interested in that, please consider checking that out. The link to that will be in the description box. But with that being said, 行きましょう. Let's go. チャンネル登録してね.
Like, question to you then, Chris, because obviously in our circles, a lot of people we know came to Japan or moved to Japan, like somewhat based on their love for anime, and that's us included. So, like, why did you choose to move to Japan if anime wasn't like a big reason or any reason?
That's asked a lot. I always feel like guilty by coming to Japan and not knowing anime or otaku culture.
I mean, it's fine. It's not
it's I just growing up, Japan was everything to me. It was such an amazing, mystical, wonderful country. Everything I used, everything I did, every craze was Japanese in some way. From Pokemon to Nintendo, Sony. My first camcorder that I often used was Sharp, Panasonic. After that, like I don't know, Japan always felt like a country I wanted to try and visit and go to. But being British, if you look at a map of where Japan is, where the UK is, it's like, oh, we're not going there. It's so far. Like to North American viewers, though, obviously, it's still pretty damn far. If you look at the map, it's like, oh, it's not that far. It's some water.
Yeah.
But Japan's so damn far. And so I thought, oh, I'm not going to go there. But then I thought about teaching English, and Japan came up as an option. And it was the only country I ever thought I'd want to teach English in and actually immerse myself and learn about the culture. So in a nutshell, that's kind of it.
So even before all of that, like, you were already set on like leaving the UK at one point, or?
Oh, absolutely. I always wanted to live overseas and travel somewhere in Asia.
Right.
And
so where would have been your second option if you never got to
Japan?
Japan?
I was going to ask that.
Second option?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a second option in Asia. It was kind of like Japan or nothing.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Just Japanese culture really.
I feel the same way.
Me, like all the stuff I've seen about it. But
because I watched your first video last night. I was doing some research. And the vibe you gave off almost was like, all right, lads, I'm in Japan. You know what I mean? Like, I've just landed.
Lads on tour.
Kind of like, oh, I just ended up in Japan. Might fuck around and stay a little bit. You know? That's why I got the impression. I just thought it was like a thing where you were like, all right, fuck it, might move to Japan. You know, that's kind of like the vibe I got from the video, I guess. But obviously hearing that, I'm like kind of shocked. But then I could also see a British person not wanting to seem like obsessed with something because that's uncool in British culture.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. I mean, the trouble is, like,
most
people come to Japan are interested in the anime and stuff.
Yeah,
and I remember doing a Japanese class at university on the side, and I was like the only one in that class that didn't really watch anime. I was like, oh god,
wait. I'm learning Japanese, and I'm the only one who doesn't watch anime.
I was the only one in the room, and I was like, oh god, am I going to work? Is this going to work? Like, do you need to know anime to live in Japan? You need to be into that sort of part of the culture. But no, I think I was just drawn to like how the culture is very different. One of the things I studied was cultural discourse, which is so boring that I never talk about it. And I was really into cultural discourse and language, and Japan kept coming up in the studies, and that was actually one reason. But I never talk about that just because it's so boring.
That's what the podcast is for.
I never heard of social discourse. What does that entail? Like,
or just like how everything in the culture is just so different, the way people communicate, right? So indirectly. There's such a different mindset in Japan that is so incomprehensibly different to most other countries. And I started learning about that, and I really wanted to kind of immerse myself in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true, especially having moved here and lived here for a little bit. We discussed that like a bit on like our last podcast where we discussed Japan. Yeah. So what was it that made you decide to make like YouTube videos about Japan, or was it just you decided to like kind of vlog your experiences?
Did you plan that before?
Yeah.
Or was that just like you turned up and you're like, this seems like a good idea?
It was an idea at the back of my head, I think. I'd always been interested in filmmaking, but I kind of threw that dream away because it's quite hard to get into the film industry in the UK, as you guys might know. And so I was like, that's not going to happen. But then I got here and I was like, I might make a YouTube channel. And actually, before I got to Japan, there wasn't many YouTubers in Japan. And I was like, I'm really excited. What's Japan like? I went on YouTube and there wasn't a whole lot going on. No offense to the the YouTubers in Japan pre 2012, but it wasn't much, and I was like, okay, maybe I can fill that void and take my hobby of filmmaking and my dream that I've forgotten and actually kind of use that and do something with it. So I hadn't watched a whole lot of YouTube up until that point,
right?
And I kind of draw a lot of my influences from British TV and rather than other kind of vloggers and other YouTubers.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because like I think anyone can agree that like if you watch any one of your videos, and it definitely has more of like a TV vibe than like a traditional like, hey guys, I'm in Japan kind of vibe.
It doesn't feel like an iteration on YouTube, which a lot of channels that come into it newer do feel like they're trying to emulate a style but build on it. Whereas I feel like maybe that is what is so unique about your take on the J vlogging.
I mean, yeah, I don't have anything against vlogging.
No.
But for me, the thing that excited me was the idea of making like a crappy, low-budget TV show rather than like a vlog about Japan.
Yeah,
That's
it seems
kind of
like
my guiding star.
It gave off the impression of like a BBC, not a BBC show, but like
making
a
Japanese
like
TV show
or like
from a foreigner
news broadcast about Japan or about a different culture. And that's I think that's what like how I found your content at first. And you mentioned being one of the first people to do vlogs about, or not vlogs, but like videos about Japan.
High quality vlogs.
High quality vlogs. Do you remember the scene back then of what vlogs were like?
So that was the reasons why Chris Broad moved to Japan. And actually, that's a very interesting reason. I don't think I've ever heard that reason from a foreigner before of why they wanted to move to Japan. Because I can relate to what he said about many foreigners moving to Japan. The reason why they moved here in the first place was because of anime. And I will admit, the reason I first came to Japan was because of anime. Not moving, but came. So the first time I came to Japan, I came because I wanted to see an idol concert. Yes, Higa-san liked idols in the past. I mean, still, they're interesting, but I'm not as into them as I was before. But that's the reason why I first came. And what he mentioned before about the easiest way to get into Japan is by English teaching is also very true. The other way that you can get into Japan is also via a company. If you already work for a company in your home country, you can maybe ask them to transfer you to a branch here in Japan. But if you don't have that option, the other option is English teaching. And lastly, please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also, please let me know what you thought about this video. And if you have any other recommendations, please let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, 皆さん見てくださいました。またね。